Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Happy Friday. Happy beginning to your weekend. Hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. I am dragging a little bit today. I'm not really sure what's going on. I just am feeling like really slow today. Like I'm really like struggling. I don't know what it is. Yesterday I said that I felt like I was really tired. And I had been sleeping, well, not that I was tired yesterday, but that I had been sleeping a lot, you know? I had gone to bed early, like, the last couple nights, and I had, like, gotten a lot of sleep, and I was, like, not really sure why I was sleeping so much, and so I was kind of like, am I getting sick? Last night, I did not go to bed. Well, I took a nap, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I stayed up, and I watched shows after I got up from my nap all night long, and so I went to bed very late last night, but I fell asleep so pretty quickly and slept deeply, and then I woke up today and I just really felt like I was just struggling today. I don't know what it is. I don't feel like I'm getting sick at all. I just am tired. I don't know what it is today. But anyway, I don't know if it's maybe just a change in weather and I needed more sleep, or if I've just been like pumping out so many videos, that could be it too. So I woke up today and I was like doing some stuff around the house and did my prayers and my meditations, and then I was reading some of my graphic novel, and then got some coffee and was just kind of relaxing and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I think that I'm going to just film my vlog today, and that's going to be it. And then come back tomorrow or Sunday and start filming again on my other channels, because I think it'd just be good for me to take a day other than my vlog and just relax and watch some shows and all that kind of stuff. I ordered Maggiano's last night. I got the garlic bread with marinara, was really good, and then I got a side salad with an extra balsamic vinaigrette, like it's like their house dressing, and I got avocado in it as well. This time I added avocado. It was really good. And then I got some pasta. They didn't have the cheesecake anymore, so I didn't get the cheesecake. There was something else that I got though. What else did I get? Got that. Maybe that was, I think that was just it. Ate like a third of my pasta, ate most of the salad, and ate like 3 of the breadstick, the garlic breadstick things. And I got like full pretty quickly while I was sitting there watching TV. And so after that, Boo Radley kept on like, he was like, I could hear him upstairs on the bed, like rustling around. And then he'd like run downstairs and he'd run around like he was trying to, like he'd stop, and I'd try to pick him up, you know, and put him up there with me, and he'd like keep on running, and then he'd run upstairs, and I could tell he wanted me to come upstairs. Isn't it so funny, the little minds of little animals, you know? That, I mean, I knew that he wanted to go upstairs, you know, because like he loves just to like lay in bed with us and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, Boo Radley, let's go upstairs and lay down. So Alex had his like work Christmas dinner thing with just like the people that he works with last night. And so he went to his friend's house that he works with, and then they went from there to dinner, and then I guess it was more than 10 of them. I guess it was like 20 of them or something like that. It was just like all the people that he works with. And then after that, he went back over to his friend's house. It was like he and like 5 other people, and they were just like sitting around there talking and stuff like that. So I texted him and I said I didn't know what time he was going to be home, but I was going to lay down for a little bit. And so Boo Radley and I lay down, and I was like out. The thing is that I've noticed that when Alex is here, because Boo Radley loves to be in bed with Alex. Like, if Alex is in bed, Boo Radley will sleep for hours on end. He'll just cozy up in his little, blue blanket. You know, Alex will, like, cover him in the blanket and, like, fold it over, like, 4 times, and all you see is little Boo Radley's head and stuff like that. Boo Radley loves to be in bed with Alex. I mean, he loves to be in bed with both of us, but listen to all those engines. I hope somebody's okay, those fire engines. But I think because I'm here with him all day long and I'm like up and doing stuff and taking him outside and feeding him and all that kind of stuff, you know, giving him treats. I think like he's like, that's kind of what he thinks our relationship is. And his relationship with Alex is like laying in bed. So when Alex is here, and this is like when Alex is out of town too. This is always like the first day or two is like this. When Alex is here and Alex is in bed and he's just like on his TikTok or, you know, looking at TikToks or playing his game or whatever on his phone, Boo Radley is completely fine. Like, Boo Radley just like can lay there for like hours on end. Like on a Sunday after brunch, if Alex is in bed for like, let's say like 6 hours or something like that, like Boo Radley will just lay there for 6 hours and just sleep. I mean, will not move, just sleep, right? But when I want to take a nap and Alex is not here, Boo Radley has about a 20 to 30 minute window where he will lay there and then he starts getting restless. And what he does is he'll hear something outside. And so, which is so interesting because, you know, I always have the fan on and the fan's on like high. And so it's so loud in the room, right? And that's, I mean, I have it for like the wind. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. I have it for the wind, but I also have it for the sound. And Boo Radley will walk to the end of the bed. Like, I can see him because, you know, like, we have, like, a loft bedroom, and so I can see, like, the lights from the backyard or the moon or whatever coming through, and so I can, like, see the little shadow of him. Like, he'll walk to the end of the bed, and then he'll just, like, stand there, and he'll, like, cock his head, like, he's, like, listening to see if it's Alex or not. And sometimes he'll, like, jump down off the bed, and he'll go to the door, and he'll, like, sniff the door, and then he'll, like, you know, jump back on the bed, or I'll have to get down and, like, you know, bring him back up on the bed and stuff like that. So I have a good, like, 20 or 30 minutes of being able to nap before Boo Radley starts getting restless because he doesn't understand why Alex isn't there and he wants Alex there, is what it is. And so last night I laid down and I got in about, I think it was about 25 minutes and he started getting restless. He usually, like, when we're napping, he usually sleeps on, I know this is so boring, isn't it? But this is my life, right? He usually, like, sleeps on Alex's pillow, and then I put, like, the little blue blanket, like, down next to him so he can, like, go, you know, off the pillow and then down on that little blue blanket if he wants to. And my eye has been bothering me all day today, too. I'm not really sure why. I changed my contact in there, and it's still not really feeling any better. So, like, I put the little blue blanket down there, like, you know, it's like, okay, so we have two pillows. We have, like, our pillow, and then we have the pillow with the pillow shams on it. And so what I'll do is, I'll put, like, the pillow with the pillow sham up like that. I make, like, a little bed, right? And then he, like, kind of sinks into, like, this part of it right here. It's so silly, isn't it? Do you guys, like, take this much consideration with your dogs and cats? I'm sure, like, many of you out there do, right? And then, like, you have special things you do that you don't even realize that you do, you know what I mean? So, like, I have to make the special bed for him, and he, like, won't get on the pillow unless I make, like, the special bed for him, you know? When we're napping. During the day, he'll get on whatever. Even if there was, like, 15 pillows, he'll, like, get it to the very top of it and sink into the middle. But then I always put, like, the blue Costco blanket, like, in a little circle, like, right down off of this pillow right here, so that if he wants to go into this blanket, he can, right? So, at about 25 minutes, I was, like, almost asleep, because, of course, it takes me a while to fall asleep, right? I was, like, fading off. Although I fall asleep during naps faster than I do just, you know, regular stuff. So, anyway, I was falling asleep, and he, like, got up off the pillow, and then he went to the edge of the bed, and then he walked right back, and he got into the blanket. I was like, oh, thank God, like, he's gonna go to sleep on the blanket, right? And, my neighbor must have just got home. I didn't hear the garage door open up. I have felt like I have had something in my eye all day today. And so I took my contact out, and my contact didn't feel any better. It feels like there's, like, a piece of dirt or something on it. And I looked at my contact. It was no rip. There was nothing wrong with my contact, but I, like, threw it out anyway, and I changed my contact, and it's not any better. And in all honesty, it didn't even feel better without the contact in it, because, like, I left my contacts out for a while. It didn't even feel better without the contact in it. So I'm just, like, hoping whatever it is, it feels like a little piece of, like, dirt or something. If you wear contacts, you'll know what I'm talking about. You can kind of tell, like, a rip feels a certain way, and, like, if it's kind of, like, you know, to the side, which that rarely ever happens to me anymore, like, it feels a certain way, you know, or whatever. Like, a rip really hurts. Like, you can tell when your contact is ripped. Like, it really, really hurts. Like, you need to get it out of there quickly. But sometimes you get, like, dirt in your eye. My friend, who's an eye doctor, thank you so much. Maybe I am getting sick. I don't know. Maybe I am. My friend who's an eye doctor, I can remember years ago, I said something about having something in my eye, and he said something to me about that eyes will like work out stuff on their own. I'll never forget him telling me this. He told me this like 20 years ago. And my neighbor's leaving, not coming. And he was like, if you have something in your eye will like automatically work it out on its own. He was like the one that really helped me like learn to wear contacts, because I was like such a weirdness about, I wouldn't say phobia, but I was so weird about touching like my eyeball, you know? And I remember like he like really helped me with it, so I'm like not weird about it at all today, about like putting my contacts in my eye. But anyway, so we probably like went to the edge of the bed, and then he came back and he like laid down in his little blanket, and I was like, oh, thank God, like he's gonna go to sleep down in his blanket. No, that didn't last. Then he got up on the pillow, then he went back to the blanket, then he went to the end of the bed, then he jumped down off the bed, and it was like that was like the next 45 minutes. Me being like, come on, boo, just lay down, and then he'd jump down, and then he'd be like at the end of the bed, and he'd like start kind of crying a little bit, so I had to like get up, and like, he can get up on the bed just fine, unless it's dark and he can't really see, and then like he cries because he wants to be picked up and put on the bed, so I would like pick him up, put him on the bed, then he'd jump back down. So finally I just was like, this is pointless. So I got up, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start watching my shows. I was really waiting for The Golden Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise to come on, I guess it's Hulu, and I thought it came on at midnight, but I guess it comes on at like 5 in the morning or something like that. And so I had recorded them, and so I like to watch the ones that are like on Hulu or Paramount or whatever, even if I record them, because it's without commercials, and then you don't have to like fast forward through the commercials. I know it's totally lazy, but that's just what I prefer. My eye all of a sudden, since I was talking about it started feeling better. So a little bit, not tons, but maybe by the end of this vlog, I was like, you know what, like you were like so struggling today to pull it together and feel good, which is probably just a total result of me watching one show after another last night and staying up way too late, which is totally what it is, probably. I was like, if you get out there and you vlog and you talk to everybody for like, you know, half an hour, you'll feel better, you know, when you're done. So it's like whenever I go to a meeting, like even there are times, you know, I know that everybody probably thinks I just like love going to meetings all the time, but there's, you know, that's not always the case. You know, Tanya asked me to go to a noon today. She asked me to go to a noon last night, and she was like, why don't you take an Uber over here and get to my house at like 11, and then we can go to this noon meeting, and then, you know, whatever. She's like, then I'll take you home. And I was like, okay, so if I Uber to Tanya's at 11, then I have to call the Uber by 10:15, which means I have to be up at like 9, probably 8:30 to get the dog settled and stuff like that. And I told Tanya last night, I said, Tanya, I love you, and I would love to go to a meeting with you and stuff like that tomorrow. I said, but unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to decline, because I have not watched TV shows in like 3 nights, and I really just want to binge watch all my shows. She started laughing. She's like, that's totally fine. I would have loved to have gone to the meet. That's one of the things about like not driving, is just not, you know, like I don't really ever miss it, but like just being able to just like jump in and not have to like plan things, you know, ahead of time and stuff like that. And that's also a meeting, like the meeting that we're going to go to is like far away, that it would be like a 30-minute ride in like an Uber, which is totally fine. But so, and then my sponsor asked me to do something that's recovery related this weekend, so we'll see about that. But, and then she asked me to do something next week, and then we were talking about my coin, because my sobriety birthday's coming up. So I was talking to my sponsor about that, and if we're gonna do dinner and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I finally got up, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch The Golden Bachelor first. Oh, well, earlier when I was eating, I watched RuPaul's Drag Race UK, and I had forgotten that this week was the season finale. So I watched the season finale. I don't want to like ruin it for anybody, so I'll just say I would have been happy with anybody that won in the top 3. I was very happy with who won RuPaul's Drag Race UK. Very, very happy. I thought there were 2 people that were really, really deserving of it, and if either one of them had won, I would have been like, I think they got it right. The third person, I don't think was necessarily deserving out of the 3 of them, and it's the person that got 3rd place, but for some reason, I really wanted them to win. I don't know why, I just loved their energy and everything about them. And also looked like a friend of mine that I had back in the day when I was going out, like a very, very dear friend of mine. In and out of drag. looked a lot like my friend in and out, because my friend was like I met him as a drag queen here in town, and then we became friends, and so like he stopped doing drag, and then and he moved to Louisville, Kentucky and stuff, but he really, really looked a lot like this drag queen. So anyway, I watched that last night while I was eating dinner. I think that's what I watched. I watched something else too. So I finished that show for the week. I feel like I'm finishing like a lot of shows right now. Which is good, because I've got like Vanderpump Rules I've got to start and catch up on. I'm trying to catch up on 1,000 Pound Sisters before it starts on the 12th, which that I think will be easy, because I'm just like going through those shows. I'm watching like an entire like half a season or a season in like one setting, which is kind of what I plan to do tonight and this weekend. So anyway, when I got up, I started watching The Golden Bachelor. I didn't realize it was 2 hours last night. And so then Alex came home right after I started that. He was like, I'm going to bed, I'm so tired. And I was like, okay. So I talked to him for just a little bit, and then he was like, babe, I'm like really tired. Like, I need to go to bed. And I was like, okay. So he went to bed with little Boo Radley. I had just, right before he came home, I had like taken Boo Radley out and given him his medicine and his treats and stuff like that for the night. So I was like, he doesn't need to go out. He's got his medicine, everything like that. And Alex was like, okay, thanks. So they went to bed, and then I watched The Golden Bachelor. It's interesting because I feel like I need to save this for my reality TV channel, although I did a video the other day about The Golden Bachelor, who's going to win The Golden Bachelor, and didn't seem like anybody cared, but it doesn't matter. I still want to talk about it over there. But there was this article that came out in The Hollywood Reporter. You know, as somebody that covers like drama and the drama community and things like that, I'm always like, when I see these articles and these exposés come out, I don't, you know, obviously claim to be a journalist or anything like that, but having done this now for like 7 years, over 7 years, you can kind of like feel the pulse of how things work. Like, you don't have to be like an educated journalist to understand timing, to understand all this kind of stuff. And so this article came out in The Hollywood Reporter about Gary Jerry. I call him Gary Jerry because his name is Gary, but he spells it Gerry, which is apparently the German way of spelling it. But he said like he retired from doing some job, and then it came out and it said that he like sold this like hamburger shop in like 1985, and that ever since then he had all these different like jobs, like they refer to him as like odd jobs, but I was like, okay, I don't think they're really odd jobs. Like, he was like worked for like janitorial services for like a mental health facility, and he had like worked for like maybe a car dealership or something like that. It was like all these like random things that he had done, which I don't really think that that's like, I mean, he didn't really say tons on the show about what he did as a living, but they painted it like he was such a liar for saying this, right? But the thing is like, they said what he would have done, he would have actually retired in 2006, not 19. He said he was 55, which would have been like, or he retired when he was 55, which would have been like 2006, which was actually when he did this. But like, the thing is like, I mean, obviously I live in a community of retired people. I know a lot of people that are retired for their main career, and they do like, my neighbors next door, like, they had like, she was a major administrator in school systems, like, I mean, at the top, and she's retired, and he was a structural engineer for a massive company here in the country, and they moved here from a different city to be closer to their kids or their daughter and their grandkids, but they now have like part-time jobs that they do. I know a lot of retired people that do part-time jobs of things that you would never think that they would do. So does it surprise me that Gary Jerry like retired and then he worked for like janitorial services for a mental health facility? Not at all. And it was funny because when they interviewed people from there, the people were like, oh, he was really, really nice, so we loved working with him and stuff. So basically what they were shaming him for was that he took part-time jobs after he retired. But I know a lot of people that do that. My neighbors completely work part-time jobs just to pay for their travel because they travel so much. And they love to travel, so they're like, that's why we have part-time jobs. I don't think that's a weird thing. Do you? Like, I feel like I know a lot of retired people. I know a lot of retired people that are like, I don't want to get bored just sitting at home, and I retired at 63 or 65, and I could, and they're like in great health, and hell, they could live to be 85 or 90, and they don't want to just sit around and read cozy mysteries like me all day long, so it's like they want something to do on the side. A lot of them get full-time jobs, it's just not full-time jobs in their field. So I don't think that that's that bizarre. But then apparently he had said that he hadn't been, he did say this, I heard him say this on the show, that he hadn't kissed somebody in 6 years. And he said something to the effect of, like, he hadn't been with another woman since his wife had died and all this kind of stuff. Well, apparently it came out that he's dated several women. And this one woman who they gave, like, a fake name to because she didn't want her name out there. One of the women that he dated, she did say her name. But the other one, like, he, like, moved in with her, and, or she moved in with him. And then he was, like, they're painting him out to be, like, really tight with money. And that, like, they agreed that she would pay so much for the bills and all this kind of stuff. The thing that wasn't so weird to me. The thing that was weird to me was that, I guess, just in being in a relationship for 15 years, I guess, like, that's always my point of looking at these things. And so it was something about, like, and maybe it was kind of how they worded it and whatever, but, like, they decided that they would pay, unless it was special occasion meals, if they were going to go out to dinner, they would split the check in half, right? I think that's a little bizarre for a couple, in all honesty. Like, Alex and I, like, for a while, it was kind of like, I'll get a meal, he'll get a meal, back and forth and whatever. Now it's just kind of like, I mean, whoever picks up the check first kind of thing. It's not like all one-sided one way or the other. I mean, it's definitely not down to the dollar, things like that. And but we both contribute equally to the relationship. Would I say that if we, like, added it up on either side that it's complete? Who knows? I don't even know. You know what I mean? But, like, as far as bills and stuff like that, sure, but I understand that. But, like, apparently he would say that, or they agreed that they were going to split all the meals. So this is what I thought was strange, was that she would have to pay him the money before they went in the restaurant, so that then he could pay the bill with the money, and then it would look like he was the one paying the bill. And they said something in the article, like, so that he looked like he was the big spender or something like that. I can't remember, the big man or big spender or something. I can't remember how they said it, but I thought that was kind of interesting, because that kind of plays to his ego a little bit. And then she said that it just got worse and worse and worse, this article, this woman that they interviewed, right? And they even, like, interviewed friends of hers too, to, like, I think, give credibility to the story. But he was going to his high school reunion or something like that, and he wasn't taking her with him, and then it was because she had gained weight or something like that, and then they broke up, and then she had this job because he wanted her to get this job when she moved over there, and it was, like, hard for her to find a job anyway, and then he wouldn't let her stay in the house that they were in. So he was like, no, you can go stay in a hotel and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it was interesting. But here's the thing. It's one side of the story, right? Like, you don't know what his side of the story is about all that either. I don't know. Does it surprise me? No. Do I think the Golden Bachelor can vet out every little thing about people? No. I actually, to be honest with you, I was kind of surprised last night that they didn't announce who the Golden Bachelorette was going to be. They talked about the new season of The Bachelor, and the guy that's going to be the Bachelor, apparently he's like a tennis player or something. Alex and I watched that Netflix movie about the son of the president that falls in love with, like, the Prince of England. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's called, like, I think it was based on those books, like Red, White, and Royal Blue or whatever. It was actually a pretty good movie, but the guy looks like the one guy. He looks like the guy that is the son of the president. So they showed, like, a clip from that. There were a lot of people in the audience from Bachelor in Paradise. Like, Braden was there. Did you guys see this was interesting to me. So they showed the clip for the trailer for Bachelor, the new season of The Bachelor, and I swear to God, Eliza from Bachelor in Paradise was there. But Eliza is, like, ready to get engaged to Aaron B. I swear she's on the next season. Well, there were other people. Like, they showed, like, Susan. I love that Susan so much. I wish they would make her the new Bachelor, but I don't think they will. I think it'll be either Paula or Ellen. But that will be the Golden Bachelorette. But they showed the Bachelor, like, talking to the women that were part of the Golden Bachelor and, like, them giving him advice and stuff like that. It was, like, a very sweet moment. He seems like a really nice guy. But anyway, and yes, I definitely will be watching. Oh, and by the way, the person that Gary Jerry chose to propose to, they're getting married January 4th, and you can watch the whole thing live. Bachelor Universe. And I probably will be watching it live. The whole thing tore me up, honestly. Like, when he broke it off with the other woman, like, he just kept on saying he was sorry, he was sorry. I know people don't love this when I say this, but I think it goes back to, like, when my dad said this to me. Like, people always want to argue with me over the statement, right? That when my dad said to me years ago, like, I don't want to hear you say I'm sorry. Like, I think you have to be in the position of either being hurt by those words or have them used so repetitively to understand. Because I can remember my mom doing the same thing in active alcoholism, you know? I was saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And just to the point where I'm like, you don't mean it. Like, it doesn't mean anything, right? And so my dad said to me, you know, like, don't say I'm sorry because sorry means forget what I just did. Well, I'm sitting there watching it last night, and he's like, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Well, at some point, it doesn't really mean anything, you know? And it was so funny because she got a round of applause. And he said something about, or she said, once again, I don't feel like I'm picked. And he said, he said, oh, don't feel that way. Like, that's not true or whatever. And she said, no offense, Gary. And she's, like, bawling her eyes out. They're, like, showing the clip, you know, to the whole audience, live audience. And she's like, no offense, Gary, but I can feel however the fuck I want to feel. And the whole audience, like, erupted in applause. It was amazing. I mean, you would talk about standing up for yourself. I think 2023 and going into 2024 has been the standing up for yourself era for a lot of people. I really do. Definitely for me. I have feelings where I, like, waves where I go back and then I come forward and I go back and I come forward. And I hope I find my grounding in 2024. I really do. It's interesting because, I don't know why I'm going right into this, but it's interesting because I feel like I'm giving, like, a lecture. Because I'm talking about Gary Jerry and the Golden Bachelor. The standing up for myself era is interesting because it kind of reminds me a little bit, I think I actually have talked about this over here, it kind of reminds me a little bit of when I came out. I can remember, like, feeling so oppressed for so long, you know, being in the closet and whatever, that when I came out, not just, like, in gay bars and stuff like that, but I can remember, like being an almost kind of exaggerated, flamboyant version of myself. Like, to almost kind of, like, draw attention to it and things like that in, like, malls and things like that. And, not, like, hyper-exaggerated, but just not just, like, this calm version, you know? And I think it was kind of like this liberating feeling of, like, yes, girl, I'm here, you know, kind of like that. I mean, I'm still like that with some of my friends, you know, but it was like that for me. I mean, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, 1 not at all, and 10 being, like, over the top, I was, like, at a 9. And then the more comfortable I got with it, especially after I got sober, I think it kind of, like, subsided a little bit, you know? Where I don't feel like I needed to shout. I didn't feel like I needed to shout it from the mountaintops. I didn't need to be in people's faces about it and stuff like that. But I think that I had to go through that, right? Like, and then that's kind of when I learned that people don't change their minds about you by you throwing it in their face. I don't believe that. I think people change their minds by getting to know you and realizing that you're no different than anybody else. In terms of being gay, I can only speak to that, right? I also kind of came to terms with it. It's not really my job to change other people's minds. Like, if people are not going to accept me because I'm gay, like, I'm not going to spend my life trying to weave my way into their world so they get to know me and realize I'm no different than anybody else. But if that happens along the way, like, that's great, right? But, like, that's not my job. Like, I think there was a period of my life where I felt like I'll educate anybody. Like, I feel like it's not my job, it's not my role, but if people ask questions and they want to know things about, like, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't know, like, I mean, they think that gay relationships are so different than, you know, heterosexual relationships, when really there's just one facet that's different, and that's the sex. I mean, and even that is, like, let's just be for real, right? Like, figure it out. But other than that, the relationships are very, very similar, you know? So I think the relationships, you know, I think there's things that are obviously different, and when you have, it stopped. I mean, I think there's, you know, I think there's more that's similar than there is different, and I think that's one thing that when people, like, get to know us, they realize. I also think the thing that has surprised me the most through the years is that those people that I thought would be, like, the most bigoted or the most kind of, like, weird about me being gay or us as a couple, are the people that have almost no issues with it at all, you know? And yeah, but I remember when I came out, I was kind of like that. Like, I was kind of like, I can remember, like, my outfit was, the movie Less Than Zero had come out, and I remember if you watch that movie, I don't know why this is such a strange memory for me, but it's the truth. Jamie Gertz in the movie, who I loved at the time, I don't know much about her today, if she's doing movies or not, but there's a scene when they go to this Christmas party at the very beginning of the movie. It's the one where all the TVs are there, and they're playing snow, and that's like, I think it's such a great analogy for snow. I don't know why, it just kind of hit me, but, she's got this, like, really tight, like not like a pencil skirt, because it's shorter than that, like this black skirt on, but then she has this, like, sport coat, and it, like, doubles over, and it's like this black, like, sport coat, and then you can, like, see her cleavage and stuff like that. It's very sexy, and she had, like, these high heel shoes on and stuff like that, right? And her hair kind of, like, slicked back, if I remember. She had it, like, knotted up or something like that, but it was, like, back over her head. And I loved that look on her. I mean, I've always been somebody that loved movies, right? I can remember, like, drinking and using when Basic Instinct came out, and I just fell in love with Sharon Stone's character, Catherine Trammell. There was just, like, power about them, you know? Yes, I know that they're not I mean, Jamie Gertz in Less Than Zero is, you know, a hardcore drug addict, and Sharon Stone, as Catherine Trammell, was a murderer, but there's nothing great. But I think in their personalities of who they were very confident, you know, women, confident people. And so I can remember I started, like, my outfit for going out a lot was, like, I was very thin. I was very, very thin. And I would wear, like, tight black jeans, and I had, like, black, like, cowboy boots. I don't know why cowboy boots, but I did. And then I would wear, like, a V-neck white t-shirt or black t-shirt with a black sport coat over it. And that was what I wore a lot. And I can remember my hair was, like, all, like, up, and I had, like, this faux hawk and stuff like that. And I thought I was the answer, you know? And, I think I needed that to go through that kind of like, hey, I'm here, you know? Like that, we're here, we're queer, get used to us kind of thing, you know? Like, I think I needed to go through that to kind of get to the other side. With standing up for myself, I think I had to get in videos and cuss profusely and get really angry and whatever. I feel myself coming out of that a little bit. If you watch my drama video, you're like, really, Peter? No, I do. Like, I feel myself kind of coming out of that. Like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, yeah, like, I mean, not that I'm not going to ever cuss on that channel or, you know, address a negative comment here or there, but I feel like I'm kind of done with that. Like, I feel like I've kind of, like, I've said my piece, I've kind of worked through it. I feel like I know how I need to stand up for myself now. I feel like the feeling is inside of me, like it's internalized inside of me, and it's not something that I have to shout from the mountaintops anymore. And it's very similar to when I came out. Like when I had accepted my coming out, just like when I've accepted my standing up for myself, it wasn't something that I necessarily needed to shout from the mountaintops anymore. It was just something that was, right? Like it just was a part of who I was. So yeah, so I feel like 2023 for me has really been like a transition year. It's interesting. Like a big transition year for me. And I know for a lot of people that have watched my videos for a long time, like it's been difficult to watch because I know that a lot of people are like, well, Peter, I liked you this way or I liked you that way or whatever. And then there are a lot of people that are like, Peter, I love the standing up for yourself era. I love this. I love that. And whichever side of that fence you stand on, I just want to say I really appreciate you. If you're still here, for hanging out with me as long as you did. And, you know, like, this won't be the last transition I go through as I'm online. I don't plan to go anywhere. I mean, I'm excited about starting my 8th year of vlogging. Like, it's crazy, isn't it? My 8th year of vlogging over here. But I don't plan on going anywhere, and I'm sure that I'll continue to go through changes. I'm sure I'll continue to go through loss and success and failure and mistakes and growth and change and possibility and hope and all of that, you know, and that's life, right? Like, that's what life's all about, Charlie Brown, and it's ever evolving and ever growing, and it's highs and lows and good and bad and indifferent and all of it, you know? And that's all I've ever just wanted to show. So I appreciate you guys that have stuck around. I really do. It means a lot to me. It means more than you guys even know, probably. You know, I've shared this a lot on here, but I remember, like, when people were telling me with my mom that you, like, need to move on, you need to move on, and I called this friend of mine whose son had passed away, and I was telling her about it, and I said, people keep on telling me I need to move on, and she goes, no, we never move on. We move through, and we carry the memories of those people with us, you know, forever. They're always a part of us. And I think that's so true, you know, when you grieve, like, I don't think there's any time limit on grieving, and I don't think grieving ever really stops. I think you, like, enter different, like, I'm not, like, the stages of grief, yes, I agree with some of them and whatever, like, initially, maybe, like, in the first year or two, but, like, after that, I mean, like, you're, like, 16 with my mom going into, it's like, there's a point where it just becomes part of who you are, you know, when I think about the fact that, like, my mom has been gone for so long now, you know, and I miss my mom dearly, I do, but she's been gone for so long. It's not like every day I wake up and I'm, like, bawling my eyes out, I miss my mom. If I did, that would be totally fine. Like, that's my journey and my story, right? But I think there becomes a point where it just kind of evolves into, or just becomes part of who you are, and it becomes part of your, you know, evolving. And that loss becomes part of that too, you know? And even a little bit, to some degree, the hopes and the dreams of that person. And so, but I think, like, with standing up for myself, just like with the coming out, it's like, I don't think it's time for me to move on, you know? Like, I think it's time for me to continue to stand up for myself. But I also think that it's time for me to move through and to carry it with me, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't need to be something I'm saying or doing in every video. It doesn't need to be something I'm saying or doing at every moment of my life, where at first I felt so empowered and so just like, yes, I'm standing up for myself and I'm not taking this crap anymore and blah, 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 whatever. And I'm still dealing with stuff, you know, like all the stuff I'm still dealing with and all that kind of stuff, right? And I feel empowered by dealing with it. At the same time, like, I don't want it to be my focus point. At some point, I have to just evolve into this person that stands up for himself. Not this standing up for myself era, but I need to evolve into and grow into the person that just stands up for himself, because that's who I am. You know what I mean? And I think that would be the message that I would want to give to anybody out there, because I've gotten so many messages since I started talking about myself, standing up for myself, and, you know, this is my standing up for myself era. So many people are like, you have inspired me, you've helped me stand up for myself. And people will say, I mean, I get emails and messages from people all the time, DMs, and people will say, you know, like, I stood up to a family member that I haven't been able to stand up to in 20 years, and, you know, a coworker or a friend, or, you know, I've never been able to stand up to anybody in my life, and thank you so much for sharing your story. When I initially came out, you know, when I started talking about sobriety on this channel, like, or on all my channels, like, I knew, like, I didn't have a plan on how I was going to do that. Like, I knew I probably would do, like, my recovery story video, or I would probably do, like, my addiction history video. I knew I would probably do that, you know, at some point, but, like, I never thought it would be as big a part of my channels as it is. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that it is. I'm proud that, just like in my normal life, it's woven into every area of YouTube for me. On my review channel, everywhere, you know? On my reality TV channel, it's woven in to my vlog, to my drama channel. It's woven everywhere, right? Might as well just name them off. My book channel, my Peterisms channel, my Peter Dustuff channel. It's woven into all of my channels, right? And that's my life. And so that's very natural to me for that. I think if 2023 was my standing up for myself era, and I look at what that woman said to me, my friend, about no, we never move on, we move through the pain, but we carry what we've learned with us. We carry the memories with us forever, right? Then I hope that 2024 is just Peter standing up for himself. That just becomes a part of who I am. It's not an era. It's not a phase. It's not a transition period. It's just who I am. That Peter Monn is somebody that stands up for himself. And for all those people out there, I'd like to be that example. That I think it's great that we stand up for ourselves in this situation or that situation, but what if we evolve into people that just stand up for ourselves and don't allow ourselves to be belittled or, you know, or put down or hurt, you know, or whatever it is that you feel like you need to stand up for yourself for. What if we just become those people? We step into that, you know? Like, I think that's what I want in 2024 is I want to step into being the person that's healthier. I want to step into, I don't want to be like, I'm trying to be healthier, which I'm sure I'll say in 2024. So people will probably be like, well, Peter, you said that. I like to just become that person, right? That just like walks regularly and eats healthy, you know, several nights a week, still eats crap sometimes, but, you know, it's like healthy. Like, I want to be that person, you know? I want to be the person that stands up for himself regularly because that's who I am. I want to be the person, I don't want to be the person that's always like growing in. I feel like 2023 has been me growing into these things. 2024 needs to be me being these things, if that makes sense. And I don't think I'm a far way off from that, you know? Like, I feel like I've done the work to get there, and now it's just claiming it. Now it's just claiming it and being like, okay, this is who I am today. And I'm proud of who I am today. And I'm not making excuses for who I am today, and this is who I am. You know, it's interesting because I think about this a lot, right? Like, I think about people, like, I can remember my dad turning 55. He called it double nickels. I don't know why I remember that birthday so much of his, because I remember somebody, I would have been like 25, because I think he was 32 when I was born, I think. My mom was 28. I think he was 32. So that means that double nickels, I would have been, what, 23? Something like that. I remember going to his house, and God, that's so weird. That would have been the summer after I got sober. Hold on a second. I have to do the math on this to see if I'm right about this. Because that would be... I literally can vividly remember that. Because somebody put 55 pink... They ordered that company that they did 55 pink flamingos in my dad's yard. And I remember he was like so proud of turning 55. He was like, I've double nickels. And my dad and my stepmom were traveling all the time. And... okay, hold on a second. Oh, I put in, okay, my dad was born. Hold on a second. Yeah, that was 1995. That would have been the summer after I got sober. So I would have been about 8 months sober when my dad turned 55. And I can just remember him standing out there. And he was like, yeah, I'm double nickels and all this kind of stuff. And he was so excited about it. And I think about my dad at 55. My dad was so youthful at 55. My dad was so youthful at 65. My dad's 83 and he is still pretty youthful, you know? Like, can he get around as easily as he could 10 years ago? No. Does he do as much as he did 10 years ago? No. The man's 83, you know? But I think if you met him on the street, you wouldn't think that. And so I think, like, okay, I'm 51 and I've got so much life to live. But, like, I mean, the majority of my friends, you know, are older than me by like 5 to 15 years. Well, not 15 years. I wouldn't say most of my friends are 70, but like 5 to 10 years, definitely. Older than that, I have a couple friends of mine that are mid-60s, you know? So, yeah, I guess 10 to 15 years, that would be, I guess 70 would be 20 years, right? But, the stuff that people say to me sometimes, like, the negative stuff, I think that most of my friends, or like my dad at the time, like if somebody had said that to him, I don't even think my dad's feelings would be hurt. I think my dad would just be like, fuck them. If that's how they feel about it, okay. You know, or I don't have anything to prove to these people. Like, you know, whatever, that I don't know them. I don't have anything to prove to them, you know? I think Tanya would feel very similar to that. I think Tanya's feelings might get hurt by things. My mom, her feelings, she wouldn't have understood all this. But like, my friend Valerie, her attitude is very greatly like, why do you care that people take issue with it? Why are you even feeling the need to explain this or not? And I think I need to step into that as well. Of just being like, you know, that, what is it, that those that mind, that Dr. Seuss saying that people always send me that those that matter don't mind and those that mind don't matter kind of thing. And I just need to realize really fully like what a blessing it is, this life that I have, and that I'm here and that I'm able to do something that I love every single day, like I say so regularly. And even though it's kind of like a mantra, it's truly how I feel, and just appreciate that and focus on the positive. And I know people are like, well, I love when Peter, like, you know, addresses negative stuff because he gets so snarky and shady and whatever. But I can be shady about stuff I talk about. I don't have to focus on that. And I think it's just time for me to just, like, step into this more confident, sure of myself, healthy era. You know, like, I think I've had one foot on, like, one foot on the continent of insecurity, doubting myself, lacking confidence, not standing up for myself, putting myself down. And I've had one foot moving towards standing up for myself, being more confident, taking care of myself, complimenting myself instead of putting myself down. And I feel like both legs are going like this. And this leg needs to just come on over. Does that make sense? Like, I just need to jump on overboard and be like, okay, it's time for Peter to step into this new role of his life, you know? I think, like, even when I post, like, pictures on Instagram and stuff like that, even when I, like, feel good about myself, sometimes I'm just, like, kind of, like, or when I even take pictures, I'm kind of, like, I don't know that I feel that great about myself, you know? And people are always really nice with the comments and stuff like that, but I need to feel great about myself. I need to stand up to myself for myself, you know, in all reality. So that's what I want to go into in 2024, is just accepting this new reality of who I am instead of constantly questioning it and feeling like I'm doing the work and transitioning. I mean, there's times for eras to end, and the standing up for myself era is about to come to an end. I don't know what era is next, but it's time for me to just step into it and own it, you know? And for all of you out there that are working on it too, it's time for all of us to just step into it, to own our birthright, to own our confidence, to realize, you know, it's time for us to enjoy our best life and know that we deserve it, you know? And that we deserve to be loved, and we deserve all the good things in the world and all of that kind of stuff, you know? And yeah. And F the rest, I guess. Just enjoy life as much as we possibly can. And that's what I want to do. I feel like 2023 for me has been this is the weird thing, right? Like, I haven't talked about this. I talked about it, I hinted at it once. But, you know, I'm counting down to my sobriety birthday. So today's December 7th, or today's December 1st. So it's 17 days to my sobriety birthday. The month or two before my sobriety birthday is usually really, really hard for me, because those were the worst 2 months of probably my entire life, in all honesty. When I wasn't going to meetings and I had no emotional sobriety and no spiritual foundation, those years were pretty tough too. But the last 2 months of my using were filled with desperation. I didn't want to die, but I didn't care if I lived, which is a really scary place to be if you've ever been there before. I had just kind of given up on everything. I just was kind of done. I was kind of over. Which, you know, I know this phrase has been kind of overused by YouTubers and stuff when they say they were in a dark place. But, like, I mean, it's not even figuratively. Literally, I was in a dark place. Like, my house was dark all the time. I just was, you know, like, shrouded in darkness and just didn't care about my life anymore, didn't really care about people. People that were caring about me, I just was pushing away left and right. I think that's probably why my dad so clearly can see that if I hadn't gotten sober, I'd be dead. But I don't know that I really saw it. But I was kind of like the living dead, you know, at that time. I really was. Kind of like the Walking Dead. Like, you know, like in blackouts, we drink to a point where we continue to function, but we don't realize that we're functioning. It was kind of like I wasn't in a constant state of blackout, but it was kind of like I was. Like I didn't even, like I don't know why, but like the image in my head when I go back to those times was that, because it snowed a lot that December, is I can see like laying in my bedroom. So you walk in my bedroom, I had this big bedroom. It had this Papasan chair from Pier 1 in the corner, and my dad had made me this like platform bed, right? It was like a folded out futon, but it wasn't. It was like this big slab of like wood, and it had this mattress on it. And then I had this nightstand in the corner with like I had this red phone, I remember, like the bat phone. And then, it's like this modern phone. And then I had one of those Pier 1 lamps, you know? Those round lamps, you know, that you would like pull out. I had like paper lamps, you know. I had one of those hanging over there and one hanging over in the corner where I had like this clothes thing, and then I had like the TV that I have in my office, the TV and the VCR in it. And which, by the way, I have made no decisions about. I keep wanting to say I'm going to move all that stuff out of there. I'm just like, oh God, get this stuff out of that office and just be done with it. And then I had a walk-in closet. It was like a big walk-in closet where I had a bunch of stuff, right? And I can remember just like laying in that bed. And it's so funny because I had this comforter on that bed that I was so proud of getting. And it had been my favorite comforter for years and years and years. Well, the last couple years we've used it for the dogs. And I finally, it was like so, like stuffing was coming out of it and everything. When I was cleaning out the closets and stuff, it was at the very, very like bottom of the closet, in the walk-in closet in the bathroom. And I was finally like, just like, it's time, you need to throw this out. I've had that for like 30 years. Like, that is crazy, right? I can remember laying in that bed and like waking up and looking, and I have this ashtray that had been my mom's, and it was like this orange ashtray, this glass orange ashtray, not like orange, but like orange glass, like you could like see through it, glass, you know? And it was big, it was like this big, and I had it on the bed, and I can remember it was like turned over, and I could see through the bottom of it, all the butts that were on the bed, and I had like a bottle of like some kind of like Jack Daniels or something like that. Which is weird because I was a huge Jack Daniels drinker, but I didn't often buy it at home. I would buy cheaper stuff. Because Jack Daniels was kind of expensive back in the day. I don't know what it is today. And I never really had money for it unless I was going out to bars and there was like a special or something. So I can remember looking at the bottle, and the bottle had like just a little bit left in it. It was like on the side. And I was like, thank God it didn't spill out all the way so that I have a little bit to drink. And I remember reaching for the bottle. And I just remember thinking, like, and looking outside, and it was like snowing. And like the TV was like on, but it was like muted. And I just remember thinking, like, this is like what your life has come to. But like, I didn't really care either, you know? Like, I didn't really care that this is what my life had come to. And so, typically, the 2 months leading up to my sobriety date are really hard for me. I didn't see my family. I saw friends, but only when I went out. I was keeping things very, very hidden from them as far as like the hardcore drug use and stuff like that. Like, even my closest friends didn't really know like how bad it was. I mean, a couple of them I would use with recreationally here and there, like certain substances, but like as hard as it was, they did not know. I don't think anybody knew that I was literally waking up and drinking and eating pills and smoking weed all day long to just get to normal. I mean, literally just to get... I mean, I was shaking so bad. I had DTs from drinking at 22 years old. I mean, it was so bad. I was like drinking. I can remember drinking in the shower. I used to love to drink in the shower because I would like feel clean, but then I would start like feeling like the alcohol hit, and I would start feeling better. I would just drink out of the bottle in the shower. I'd take like these half an hour hot showers, right? And I would sit there all day long because I wasn't in school, I wasn't doing anything. I dropped out of all my classes. And I would just sit there waiting for my friends to be like, okay, like, what time are we going out tonight? And then I would show up to their house, and they would see what they thought was normal Peter, because I had been working all day on drinking and smoking. I mean, I was so gone at the time that I would show up, which then, by the way, by then, we would go out to the bar, and like an hour at the bar, I was blackout central, you know, because I had been using all day long. But they didn't know that. I just seemed normal to them, right? Because I had worked so hard. They had just gotten out of school, or, I mean, all my friends worked and were serving, you know, working, waiting tables and stuff like that. So they get off work at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'd show up at their apartment, we'd sit around there, have a couple drinks, and we'd go out, have a couple more drinks, and within an hour, hour and a half, I was gone, you know? I can remember people saying to me, I just don't understand how it's happening so quickly. Well, what they didn't know is I had been drinking since 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you know? Like, they only saw me, like, show up to their apartment, have a couple drinks, and go out. So they didn't. And at that point, like, I was emaciated years before that, or not emaciated, but I was really thin years before that. But at that point, I wasn't super thin. I mean, I was thinner than I obviously am now, but I wasn't, like, I wasn't, like, it wasn't like anybody was like, you're getting so drunk because you're so thin. You know what I mean? And, yeah, I just was like, so I look back on that piece of my life. You know, it's weird talking about it because, like, this year, it feels like so far removed from my history. It's like, it's so far from anything that I remember. Whereas I don't know, maybe to some degree the work I've done in the last 2 years, the inventory I've done, that I've kind of let go of that a little bit, finally. That I've said goodbye to that period of my life, you know, and you know, we always say that we don't close the door on it, nor do we don't forget the past, nor do we close the door on it. I don't ever want to forget where I came from, but I don't think I live in it as much anymore. I don't think I'm afraid of it. I think me really, like, having a hard time the last 2 months really kind of also was, like, on the heels of me having several friends that went back out and started using after double-digit years. And I think I thought to myself, well, could it be me? Could I be next? You know, could I be the next person that goes back out? Like, I mean, it happened to them. Now when I look at what they were doing before, they weren't going to meetings, they didn't have sponsors, they weren't working steps, they hadn't for years, you know, many of them. Their attitudes towards recovery changed. They started putting themselves in very difficult, dangerous situations. You know, one friend was like hanging out with her neighbors all the time, and all my neighbors know that I'm sober, but it's not like, I mean, they were like having like backyard barbecues like 3 times a week, and she wasn't telling anybody that she was sober, you know? And so, and I can remember being like, how do you do that? Like, everybody in my life knew that I was sober. Everybody in my life knows that I'm sober, you know? So, it's easier to get away with things when people don't know that you're sober. So, I always kind of like, when I knew that, I was kind of like, okay, is this like a setup to the end kind of thing? But it wasn't just her, like, it was a couple friends of mine. And when I looked at what they were doing, you know, and so maybe it's because I'm not in that place today. Maybe it's because I have a very strong relationship with my sponsor. She had me crying on the phone the other day. I was like, I don't know what I would do without you. And she was like, I love you so much. And she's like, you've worked so hard in these last 2 years. And she's so great and compassionate and so kind and generous. But always tells me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear, which I'm so grateful for, you know, very challenging of me. And, you know, I think the work that I've done with my therapist in the last 2 years, and I think this year I'm really more reflecting on the changes I've made in the last year or two, mostly the last year, and focusing on who I want to be going forward. I've talked about that with my sponsor. I've talked a little bit about it with my therapist and things we're going to work on going forward. So maybe that's where my focus is, instead of being so sad about who I was in my past. You know, maybe that's changing for me. I have a lot of friends of mine, though, that I talk to, and I'm like, you know, do you have like a hard time, like, coming up on your sobriety? And many of my friends, I've had a lot of friends that will say no, not at all, like, I don't even think about it. But I have a lot of friends of mine, quite a few, that will say, yeah, like, it's always like the weeks leading up to my sobriety birthday, like, always kind of freak me out a little bit, you know? because I'm like, oh, I'm like still here, and like, you know, like, am I supposed to be still here? And like, you know, oh my God, like, and then I think you also think about like, you miss it a little bit, you know, like, even though it's been like 28 years for me, I think like, you go back to where your state of mind was when you first got sober, and so you start thinking about that. Okay, that's probably when, for me, like, that's dangerous thinking for me, right? When I go back to 28, almost, I stopped. I cannot believe I've been vlogging for an hour already. When I was going to talk about Gary Jerry, the Golden Bachelor, on the shows that I watched last night. But that's when it becomes dangerous for me, is when, what time is it? Oh, 3:37. That's when it becomes dangerous for me, is when I start thinking about who I was at the time that I got sober, right? Because the reason why it's dangerous for me is not like the bed with the overturned ashtray and stuff like that, but what I think about myself, like when I think about that, like that convinces me that I need to be here and sober and working the program today. But when I think back about like the good times and like, you know, getting dressed to look cute, people buying drinks and, you know, doing drugs and the back patio of OPs or an alleyway of a bar and stuff like that. I mean, some of it's pretty seedy, but other times it looks real fun, you know, or just like after parties and all that kind of stuff. I think, well, maybe it was just like this phase of my life, this period of my life. Maybe I'm not really an addict or an alcoholic. That's where it becomes kind of dangerous for me, because those are the times like when I really do go back and kind of like romance the past or reminisce about it. I mean, it's different like sitting in a meeting and telling funny stories about it as it is like really reminiscing about the past and whatever. The thing is, and like people ask me that a lot, they're like, well, you got sober when you were so young. The thing is that the longer that I have in sobriety and the older that I get, I meet a lot of people that got sober a lot younger than I did. So it's not like, I mean, I know people that got sober when they were like 12 and 14. So, and they're now like 25, 30, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I got sober young, but there are a lot of people that got sober a lot younger than me. I know a lot of people that now that like, they weren't around when I first got sober, but they moved here from other places and whatever, that they got sober the same time that I did. Like, they're my age, they had my same time of sobriety, and they got sober when I did. So I know a lot of people like that. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I'd say I know 5 or 10 people that I'm close with that, you know, have 25 to 30 years of sobriety and got sober when they were in their early 20s. I know a lot of people like that. But yeah, like, I do know quite a few people like that. So anyway, probably more than 10. But you know, people ask me a lot. They're like, "You got sober really young. Do you ever really think that maybe you're not an addict or an alcoholic?" And I can't say that hasn't gone through my head, where I thought, well, maybe I'm not an alcoholic. Maybe I could drink. Maybe I could have a glass of wine. But then immediately where it goes to is, well, maybe I could smoke a blunt. I've never smoked a blunt. Blunts weren't around when I got, you know. Now there's weed where they're like showing huge, you know, buds. You were lucky if you got one little bud in a sack of seeds back in the day, okay? You know, there's all these pills that have come out. I mean, like, my head just rolls, right? And it goes right into that. I don't think that's normal. I don't think normal people think that way. I don't think normal people think of, like, a liquor store and their drug dealers like a kid at a candy shop. I just don't think they do. I don't think normal people think a lot about, if you weren't using, what it would be like to go to a cannabis shop. What do they have and how much would you spend there? Like, I've had those thoughts, you know, almost kind of like planning it out if I ever went to one, which is why I have no business ever going to a cannabis shop. You know, I haven't talked that much about it, but like, I loved to smoke weed. The battery's gonna die. Hold on a second. I can't believe I've vlogged this long. Let me go change my battery. Okay, I'm back. I cannot believe I have vlogged for over an hour already. I went inside and I got a little bit more coffee and all that kind of stuff. Checked to make sure everything was okay inside. It was. And I was like, you know what? Since I'm not going to film any videos on any of my other channels today, I might as well just do a little bit of a longer vlog. I mean, we're already at an hour, right? So it probably won't be a whole lot longer than that. But I do want to say this. Like, I walked inside as I was like getting the new battery, and I was like, I feel so good. Like, this vlog is so cathartic for me. Like, it is so helpful for me. I I don't even know how to explain it. It's not like a therapy session because I'm not like getting feedback, you know, unless I read the comments. So it's not like that direct feedback. It's just like, it's kind of like, you know, it's interesting because I think maybe I didn't say this, you know, watching 1,000 Pound Sisters, like Tammy Slayton says in there one time that like her doing videos on YouTube is kind of like a video journal, and it's very similar to what this is. Like, this is kind of like a video journal, but like, the thing that's different about this in journaling is, I'm not a big, like, I tried to be like a stream of consciousness journaler, but my journaling always kind of has to have like some kind of purpose to it. Like, I'm journaling about this, or I'm journaling about that, right? Whereas this just kind of like, I mean, I was talking about the Golden Bachelor, and then I went into the Standing Up for Myself era because I don't want to ruin it in case people haven't watched the end of it yet, but this one person, you know, says like, she stands up for herself and says, you know, and the whole crowd, you know, roots for her and all this kind of stuff. And so that turned into my sobriety, and then here we are talking about my sobriety and all this kind of stuff. But I've been using, okay, so I don't love it's called the Monn, M-O-N-I-N or M-O-N-N-I-N, I can't remember, syrups. I don't love them. I thought I did. I don't really think they taste, like, I feel like they're very weak in coffee. So I'm waiting for the toasted marshmallow to come. I need to get online and look, because I have a feeling, it's been like so long now and I haven't gotten it. I have a feeling maybe it was discontinued. Not discontinued. I have a feeling like maybe they didn't have enough, and so like sometimes when you order stuff online, you know, they'll just cancel your order out. I feel like that's what happened because I ordered these Torani syrups and they haven't come. So I'm like, it's been like a week now since I ordered them and they haven't come. So I'm like, are they coming? Are they not coming? So now I'm like diving. I'm out of the toasted marshmallow, so I'm using that Monn one, but I don't really love it. And so this is the chocolate chip cookie dough one, which I liked a lot at first. The thing is, it's just so overpowering. It really, like, everything tastes like a chocolate chip cookie dough, and it's like literally like drinking chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. I don't mind it, but I definitely like some of the other ones. The ones that I tried that I was like, I bought all these and I was like, I don't really like this, I don't really like that. I think I'm gonna like pull some of those out and try some of them and just, you know, see them in coffee and whatever and see like, okay, I do like this, I don't like that or whatever. Any that I try that I don't like Tanya would happily take, or, you know, like Caroline's son would happily take and stuff like that. So my neighbor loves the coffee syrup, so she would take them too. She and her husband would both take them. They have a little coffee bar in their kitchen. It's so cute. So kind of like the one that I want to have. Do I have Kleenex? Oh shoot, I don't have any Kleenex. So so if I don't like them, you know, after I've used them a couple times, like, they would happily take them from me. So anyway, or take them if I gave them to them. So one of the things I don't talk a lot about here, you know, I do, but not as much as like the drinking. I say drinking and drugs is just what I say, right? But like, I smoked so much weed, you guys. Like, I mean, I smoked it all day, every day. I think one of the things is that, like, people think I have this really negative attitude towards marijuana. I don't. You know, I'm very much for the decriminalization of marijuana. I think marijuana in medical form, for medical reasons, there's so many great medical reasons for it, right? But when people say things like, it's not physically dependent, or you can't get hooked on, that's just not my experience. I'm just telling you right now, it's just not my experience. Next to alcohol, the substances I used the most was marijuana. And it was probably a very close second at times. I literally smoked it all day long. Like, somebody questioned me the other day on how much I was smoking, and they were like, there's no way. I'm like, I was smoking I literally was smoking it like cigarettes at times. I was smoking myself sober at times, where, like, you smoke so much that you can't get high anymore. I smoked it all the time. I loved it. Loved it. And it didn't cost me a lot of money, and I never got in trouble for smoking it. And so it was really easy for me to rationalize. Just like it's important for me, and I don't judge people that smoke pot. Like, I have a lot of friends in my life that are not sober, that smoke pot and whatever. They're always kind of like a little ashamed to tell me, and I'm like, they don't do it around me or anything like that. I've had one friend in my life, I feel like there was maybe like another incident with somebody else, One, I can remember talking to them on the phone while they were getting high, and I was like, please do not do that to me while I'm on the phone. Like, that's disrespectful. And the other person was somebody that, like, every time that I would be around them, they had just gotten high, and I could tell, and I was like, this is disrespectful. Like, if you can't stop, then I can't, you know. And they didn't stop, and I'm not around them today. So, but I think people think I have this really negative attitude towards marijuana. It's not. It's very tricky for me. You know, I have to be very, very careful of that. I think especially because, like, I didn't, like, get in any trouble and it didn't cost me a lot of money. It's really an easy substance for me to rationalize. It didn't really bring me that much pain in my life, you know? So it's really easy for me to rationalize smoking weed. And I cannot tell you how many people I have met that are sober that, and listen, do it your way. Do it however you want to do it, right? I'm talking about people that are sober and get sober in a 12-step program, which is an abstinence-based program, okay? You're not using any substances in a 12-step-based program, period. Any 12-step-based program. There's not a 12-step-based program out there that promotes using one substance or another unless it's doctor prescribed. So, I've had several people that will come to me and be like, yeah, like, I'll quit drinking, whatever, but I will never stop smoking pot. And I'm like, so you don't think it's an addiction issue, but you are so standing firm towards the fact that I will never stop. Like, if it wasn't an issue, then would you feel so strongly about that? It's not an issue for me, but I'm never going to quit, is what they say, right? I'm like, okay, well, if it was not an issue, like, would you feel that firmly about it? Like, the people that I know that smoke recreationally, and let's say if tomorrow somebody said something to them and said, if you continue to smoke pot, then this, they'd quit. Like, it would be a no-brainer to them. It wouldn't be something like, I'm going to die on this hill of smoking marijuana. Like, to me, that's addict behavior, period. And I'm not judging people for that. I'm just saying, you know, like, for me, I had to take a look at that. Because I came into treatment and I said, I'm not here for the marijuana smoking. I'm not here for that. That's not what I'm here for, right? I'm here for the alcohol and the drugs and all the other stuff, the cocaine and whatever. But I know that if I started smoking pot, you know, somebody said this on my video the other day that I was talking about this on my drama channel, that the celebrity said that, like, my weed bone is connected to my alcohol bone, is connected to my cocaine bone, is connected to my pee. That's so what it is for me, right? Like, if I started smoking weed tomorrow, I'd be drinking. I mean, it wouldn't even matter, you know? If I took a sip of alcohol, it's the mental craving combined. It's the physical craving combined with the mental obsession. The mental obsession of, well, you already had a sip of alcohol, so you've ruined 28 years and 11 months of sobriety, so you might as well now, like, eat a Xanax, do this, do that. That's what would happen to me, right? This would be going over time. You wouldn't see me on video because that would not be where I would not be consumed with YouTube anymore. I would be consumed with getting high and how I was going to do it and how I was going to keep it a secret from everybody and whatever. And I've even thought so hard as, like, if I did, I wouldn't even keep it a secret. I'd just say, everybody leave. Like, just let me do what I'm going to do. It'd be very much, I think, for me if I went back out there. I hope to God if that ever happens, and I pray every day that it doesn't, because, you know, I'm only given a daily reprieve. And I don't want anybody to think that watching this video, like, if there are people out there that, I mean, if you work a 12-step program, what I'm saying right now is very normal of what you hear in meetings. I don't want anybody to hear this video and be like, oh, Peter's setting up for a relapse. It's not, this is normal talk for people in recovery. This is stuff I've been saying for the last 28 years. People in recovery are, like, nodding and like, yeah, this is normal talk. And I don't know why I feel that need to say that, but I don't want anybody being like, oh my God, is Peter about to relapse? No, we're not there today, thank God. Tomorrow, I don't know. I take it day by day. It's a daily reprieve for me, right? And that's worked for me up to this point. But, you know, I pray that if I did go back out there, and by going back out there, that term means going back to using again, that if I went back out there, that I would make it back, you know, to treatment or to meetings or whatever I needed to do very quickly, I would hope, you know? I think that's the saddest thing for me is my friends that have gone back out there have completely turned their backs on recovery and and these are not people that had like 6 months sober, okay? These are people that had, not that it would matter, but like their entire lives at points revolved around recovery, and they have very negative attitudes about recovery, very negative attitudes about the people in recovery. Don't want to see them, don't want to talk to them, don't want to talk to me, don't want to talk to Tanya, don't want to talk to any of us, you know? And it's not like we're preaching to them, because we're not. Like, that's, when I've reached out to them, it's just been like, hey, I hope you're doing well, let me know that you're still alive. Crickets, you know? wishing you a Merry Christmas, really, really miss you, maybe we get together for coffee. Crickets. You know, so, I don't know. I think it was so hard for me the 4 years that I didn't go to meetings. It was so hard for me to walk back in, and I hadn't used, you know, but it was so hard for me to walk back into meetings. I felt like I was walking back in with my tail between my legs, and thank God. I mean, everybody just with open arms and love and compassion was so kind and just was like, you know, Peter, we love you. We're so glad that you're back. We missed you. People were so nice. I did not have one person that was rude to me. Not one person, you know? And I'm so grateful for that experience. And even if I had, it's about me in the end. It's not about them, right? Like, but I was so ashamed and felt so guilty for not doing what I needed to do. And what I know now was that I was doing exactly what I needed to do. I know that sounds strange, but me not going to meetings for 4 years was exactly where I needed to be. I needed to go through that. I needed to live through that hell to make it out on the other side and realize that, you know, my sponsor says two things. She says, how happy do you want to be and how sober do you want to be? And what she means by that is your happiness is determined by how much work you're going to do to be happy. That's not on anybody else. You can't put that on anybody else. Your happiness is, it was like when I was sitting in my mom's living room and I said to her, like, I am not responsible for your happiness. You know? I don't know, out of the words of babes, I said that, you know, years and years and years ago. I don't even know where that came from, but like, that's what my sponsor always says. Like, nobody else is responsible for your happiness. You are. You're responsible for your self-worth. You're responsible for your confidence. You're responsible for all of this. You are. Nobody else. You can't put that on anybody else, right? And she'll say, how sober do you want to be? And what she means by that is, like, how clear-headed do you want to be? How sober do you want to be in here? Okay, not here, but here. How sober do you want to be in your head, right? Like, how emotionally sober do you want to be? That is determined by the work that you do. That is not, hey, how are you? Okay, how you doing? Good, happy December. Happy December. That is determined, the male guy is so nice. That is determined by what I do, by what you do. That's not determined by somebody else. That's not determined, my sobriety, my happiness is not determined by my husband, my sponsor, my best friend, my friends in recovery, my male guy, my neighbors, and none of that. It's on me, solely on me. Going into 2024, my level of confidence, my standing up for myself. You know, this is where when people want to point to other people and play victim, I think one of the reasons why that's such a big turnoff for me is because I did it for a very long time. You know, and I think that that's a big mirror for me, that when I see that in other people, I'm like, wow, like I did that, right? And it got me nowhere. It got me absolutely nowhere to point out and be like, well, if you knew what this person did to me, if you knew what that happened, if you knew this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I still do it. I still do it from time to time, you know? I still fall into that. I don't like it, but I do it. I'm not a perfect person, right? But I'm working on that. But I think that when I see people, I wouldn't even know, I don't know that I would say turn off is the right word. I would say I just kind of look at it and I go, wow, like that's kind of sad, you know, because like they really, like when you're in it, because I've been there, you really can't, like I know that they can't see it, like you really can't see it, right? Like it's really like if you had gone, like we say this a lot in recovery, like if you had gone through what I went through, if you had my life, you drink too, right? It's like if you went through what I went through, if you, and I'm not talking about in severe cases of abuse and things like that, that's a whole other issue, right? I'm talking about just day-to-day stuff of people not treating us well or treating us nice, right? There becomes a point where I have to say, I am responsible from not being toxic, removing toxicity from my life, not being chaotic, removing chaos from my life, being happy, contributing to my own happiness, standing up for myself so that I feel like I am the one in control of my life, being in control of my life, making my own choices, being independent. With all that, like, I mean, then you realize ultimately, you know, I think as addicts and alcoholics, we all struggle with this thing of control, right? Like that's because we're powerless is how we feel, you know? over drugs and alcohol, and our lives become unmanageable as a result of that. But there's a lot of things that I do have control over, you know? I don't have control over people, places, and things. I don't have control over what people are going to do or say. I don't have control over situations. I don't have control over places and things like that. But I do have control over how I respond to that. I do have control over how I react to that. And talk is cheap. And I can sit here on video and I can say that all day. Put me in that situation is a different story, and I struggle with that, you know? I was just struggling with that the other day. But I hope to be a better version of myself, you know? So, you know, going back to what I was saying when I changed my battery is that I don't talk a lot about the marijuana smoking and whatever. It's so normalized in our society that I think that whenever I say anything about it, you know, it's interesting because, like, if I talk about alcoholism and being an alcoholic, somebody that's sitting at home having 2 glasses of wine doesn't take great offense to that. Like, they're not sitting there drinking. I mean, I'm sure there's people that I talk about my alcoholism that are sitting watching this vlog having a glass of wine. Yes, girl, I'm talking to you. Okay, but you know you're not an alcoholic. Everybody around you knows you're not an alcoholic, so you don't take offense to that. But if I talk about the problems of marijuana, just like I do the problems of alcohol, with some people, if there are people out there that recreationally smoke pot, they immediately have an issue with it. It's like, hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Happy holidays.
Hey, you too. Happy December 1st.
What?
Your Christmas tree is not up yet.
It will be.
Your lights look beautiful, though. We just drove by the other day, and I told Alex, I said, her Christmas tree better be up.
It'll be up probably tomorrow.
Okay. That's my neighbor. She has the best house, my favorite house in the entire world, metal roof. It's gorgeous. And her Christmas tree is always up in the window, and it is the most beautiful Christmas tree. And she's like all these metal ornaments on there. I think it's the same ones that my aunt collected because you can see them shimmering from the window. It is so beautiful. It's literally like, it is so picturesque. It reminds me of, like, it doesn't look like the house, but it reminds me of when the original Miracle on 34th Street, when they pull up to the house and she goes, there it is, there it is, there it is, and you know, whatever, and she goes over there. What's up? No, I can get it.
I'm here.
I can get it. But thank you. It reminds me of Miracle on 34th Street when I love my neighbor. I really do. He is so nice. But do y'all remember when I was sitting on camera and he started going through my mail? So my husband wasn't very happy about that. I kind of was joking with my husband about it, and he goes, what do you mean he was going through our mail? And I go, well, he was like reading things off on camera. I had to tell him like not to read it, you know, on camera and whatever. And he goes, he doesn't need to go through our mail. And I go, that's interesting that you said that, because several people in the vlog said, like, he doesn't need to be going through your mail. That's a federal offense. And Alex goes, do I need to have a conversation with him about it? And I was like, no, I'll let him know. That's good, because he's such a nice guy. But then my neighbor noticed it too, and she said something. She goes, was he going through her mail? And I go, oh, the one day that I was out here filming. And she goes, no, there was like another day. I was like, oh no, I maybe ask him to or whatever. And she just kind of looked at me, and I was like, was I sitting out here? Like, I didn't remember, right? He's not like the type that would just like go through somebody's mail. I don't think he is, right? I mean, he's super, super nice. They both are. But he always comes over here and he asks me if I want my mail because I'm sitting out here. I mean, I literally can walk the 20 feet, right? But when he takes the mail out to like hand it to me, he like goes through it and he like looks at it. Alex isn't happy about it. So I'm just like, okay. You don't need to get my mail anymore. I appreciate it, but okay, I'm not like, you know, this was when I had the back brace on and stuff like that. It was hard for me to walk to the mailbox. I can walk to the mailbox now. I'm totally fine. So, but anyway, so yeah, but anyway, what was I gonna say? I was talking about smoking weed and stuff like that. So yeah, so like when I talk about like drinking, like people that just like are having a glass of wine or a cocktail or a beer, they're not taking offense to that. But as soon as I say anything about smoking weed or whatever, it's like people like go nuts. They're like, oh, you're anti. I never said that. I am such a believer that like if a pound of marijuana is sitting there on the ground, that pound of marijuana is not bad. It is not evil. It's what I do with it, right? And with me, with Peter, I'm gonna smoke all that weed. That's what's gonna happen, okay? Period, end of story. So I gotta be careful of that, right? the thing is about sobriety, because like people will ask me all the time, like, you know, like, well, do you ever think like you got sober so young? I was talking about this earlier. This is what I wanted to say, that you got sober so young. And I've said this before on vlogs, but I want to say it again because I think it's important. You got sober so young. Like, do you ever think that maybe you're not an addict or you're not an alcoholic? It goes through my head sometimes. The thing that goes through my head is this, though, right? Is that if I wasn't an alcoholic or an addict, I wouldn't think about risking giving up everything in my life, from my marriage to relationships to friendships to my dad and my stepmom made it very clear. If I ever pick up, they don't care if it's on the last day of their life, they're done. They're done with me, right? Like, it's over. No more. So I'm going to lose my relationships. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose financial stability and security. My home, probably. I won't be doing YouTube videos, so I'll be so effed up, right? Possibly. If that's possible over here, then that's what I'm risking over a beer or a glass of red wine or a blunt. Who in their right mind would risk all of that? Like, that alone tells me that I am probably an alcoholic or an addict, right? If I'm willing to risk all that just for having a substance, I don't need no substance, okay? I can have a Diet Coke, a cup of coffee, you know, I don't need all that, right? Like, even just talking about, like, this is what's scary, right? Like, when people talk about cravings, even just, like, talking about, like, having a glass of red wine, like, I can smell it, right? From, like, years ago. Or Jack and Coke, I can smell it to this day. Like, the idea of, like, being able to, like, if Alex went away for a weekend and I got like a bottle of red wine and sat out here and had a glass of red wine and smoked a joint, right? And just like sat back in this chair and just faded out. Like, I can make that sound really good. The fact that I would be willing to risk 28 years and 11 months of sobriety, all of my relationships, what I built on YouTube, my home, financial security and stability, my marriage, my husband, my friendships, my family relationships, all of that, to sit on a patio for a glass of red wine and a joint, like, that's pretty scary to me, right? So therefore, on that alone, I have to believe. He's like, my neighbor's over there talking to the mail guy. Can you hear this? The truck is just like running. So for that alone, I mean, that pretty much 100% convinces me that I am an alcoholic and an addict, you know? I don't need to continue to go do all these tests out there to figure it out. And quite frankly, I'm too old and too tired that I think that, like, I mean, I'm not that old and that tired, but I mean, as far as addiction, I mean, I was like, okay, Caroline and I were on Target the other day, and I saw this couple come in, and he was probably my age, and she was probably 35, but she looked about 55. And they just were very, like, running all over the place. And they had, like, 2 bottles of very cheap vodka. And he was, like, getting in this argument about this with this guy about trying to return these sunglasses, and he didn't have a receipt. And I was like, I know this game. Like, you know, trust me, I know this game, right? I'm not going to spell it out, but you know what I'm saying. And I was like, I can't imagine in my wildest dreams being my age, pawning stuff, begging people, asking people to front me. I mean, I just can't even imagine it at this age. Not to mention that all the people in my life are people that I can't trust. The few people that I have left, that I'm scraping dimes by, and I'm living in somebody's couch, that I have no family. And I'm not thinking about cozy mysteries and where am I going to spend Christmas, and you know, having to split Thanksgiving between 2 houses. I got no houses to go to for Thanksgiving. I got no houses to go to for Christmas. I got no family. I got nobody that wants anything to do with me, right? And I'll be lucky if I make it to January 1st. That's what I have to look forward to if I go back out there. No thanks. my life might be simple today, but I have a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I wouldn't trade it in for anything. I wouldn't. It's simple. It's TV shows. It's cozy mysteries. It's vlogging with y'all. You know, it's being happy and excited about a Christmas wreath and some bells that my mom had up in the kitchen or the front door for years and years and years, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. This is amazing, you know? So, when I go through that whole process, I think to myself, yeah, I absolutely 100% am an alcoholic and erratic. Plus, I've done all the work on like what that means and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like I have to think about it real deep, you know? But this year is different for me, and maybe it's because of all the work I've done. Maybe it's because of, you know, everything that's happened and all the therapy and inventory I've done. But I don't feel like really sad. I almost kind of felt scared of the... what was that? I almost kind of felt scared of these 2 months leading up to my sobriety. I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like... Or this year I don't feel like that. Maybe next year I will. I don't know. I feel like... contemplative and reflective about what I've gone through, and excited about what's coming next, and I'm planning about what's coming next in the 2024 and who I want to become, you know, and what I want that to look like. That's exciting to me, you know. I think a lot about that, and coming up with plans for what that looks like, you know, and things like that, and getting into shape and writing a cozy mystery and cleaning out the whole house and redoing it, and, you know, and summer coming in, sitting on my front porch and going to the pool again, and, you know, can I make it through the winter vlogging out on the front porch, you know? And I think about stuff like that. Like, I know this is gonna sound corny, but like just the other day I was thinking, like, how long do you think that you can make it out there on the front porch vlogging? I mean, it's not even that cold. I don't even really need this coat today. It's not that cold today, but I was like, I'm gonna sit out here for a while, so I might as well put a coat on. But I'm like, how long do you think that you can sit out on the front porch and vlog? Like, it's December 1st, okay? The weather's supposed to be pretty much the same for like the next 2 weeks. I looked. Warmer some days. Like, well, not warm, but in the 50s. Like today, I think it's like 46 or something. I looked. So it's supposed to be in the 50s and whatever. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm able to make it through it. And then it's the holidays. So I've got January, February, and March to make it through the vlog. I can do that, you know? And I was like thinking about that the other day. I was like, I think I can make it through the whole winter. Watch, we'll get like a blizzard next week. I won't be able to, but I'll figure it out. I'll vlog inside sometimes. If I have to sit in the bathroom and vlog if Alex is asleep, I'll do it, you know? I get so excited and I feel so blessed over just the smallest, simplest things in my life. I don't want to give that away, you know? I had this bookmark back in the day and I love it. I think I still have it around here somewhere because I used to show it on my booktube channel. Somebody gave it to me or I found it somewhere. I don't know. It's just like this laminated bookmark. It was just real simple, but it said, my whole world opened up the day. Maybe it's a quote. Maybe I should look it up. It's something like, my whole world opened up the day that I was introduced to books or something like that, or I began to read. Am I going to stop here? I can't see where I'm at on time. No, okay, about a minute. My whole... Because I want to see who wrote the quote. World opened. Oh, here it is, when I learned to read. Mary McLeod Bethune. The whole world opened up to me when I learned to read. And, you know, I feel like the whole world opened up to me when I got sober. That I had a better appreciation for things over time. It took some time. That I appreciated the simple moments in life, the priceless moments of spending time with people. So I feel like the last 28 years and 11 months of my life have prepared me for this part that's coming next, you know? Of really being able to appreciate the rest of my 50s and spending time with people and all this kind of stuff, you know, and stopped, you know, and traveling and enjoying cozy mysteries and just enjoying all of those things in life that are the most meaningful, you know. I think sobriety brought me here. It's also like the design for living of how to, like, you know, work through things and get through things, and I'm grateful for it. So yeah, That's a lot, wasn't it? Okay. Well, let me give you guys kind of a little bit of a rundown what I did last night and what shows I watched, and then I will say goodnight for a little while. This has been long. This has been like an hour and a half already. Oh my god. So anyway, first of all, last night, have you guys seen these things that everybody always does these at the end of the year? They're like, it's like my top 10 songs of 2020. Who'd care, girl? It's all Taylor Swift anyway. Everybody's got Taylor Swift or Dua Lipa on there, whatever. So I put on mine last night, my number one song of 2023, and then I put a poster of Fleetwood Mac, A Gold Dust Woman. And then everybody's doing this one this year. If you're doing it, I think it's cute. It's whatever, you know. Listen, participate in all that stuff, okay? If you want to. I don't want to. I like to do it my way. I always have. But if you want to do it, participate in it. I think you should participate in everything that brings you joy and happiness in your life. If it brings you happiness to list your top 10 songs or TV shows that teach you, we'll do all that stuff. My husband loves that stuff. You know, he'll probably do it on his Instagram. He probably already has. I haven't looked today. But then everybody's doing this one that's like, it's like 8 or 6 TV series to get to know you. And so I put one, and it was Love Boat. And then everybody's doing like top 8 movies to get to know me, and I did one, and it was 9 to 5. Okay, so last night I watched The Golden Bachelor. Loved, cried, of course. I cried. I cried over everything. Then I watched Bachelor in Paradise. Next week is the season finale. Man, can I just tell you, like, several people left. 3 people left on their own last night. And then 2 other people left because they didn't get no roses. Because there was only, okay, there was enough roses and one guy was going to go. We all knew it was going to be that Travis guy. My tripod fell down. That hasn't happened in an hour and a half. I can't believe it. Anyway, so Bachelor in Paradise. So, there was down to like 2 guys, right? Like, and there was only going to be enough, well, there was going to be enough roses and one guy was going to have to leave. And so, well, what I thought was going to happen was, because the guy that Rachel was going to give her rose to, I know not that many people watch Bachelor in Paradise, so I'm just going to say, I thought, well, I probably shouldn't spoil it, because there's probably going to be somebody that's going to be out there. But anyway, so this one guy that just came on like 2 weeks ago, Taylor or Travis, he is so boring, okay? He is a nice looking guy, but it's so boring. And nobody's really that interested in him, and he's not trying to make no connections anyway. So I knew he was gone. I knew he was out, right? But so much happened on last night's episode. So I watched that. Golden Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise. The season finale of that is next week. So last night I finished RuPaul's Drag Race UK. That was before I took my nap. Finished that for the week, for the season. I'm like marking off all these shows I'm watching. My list is getting smaller and smaller. And then got it from my nap. I watched The Golden Bachelor. Finished that for the season. Bachelor in Paradise. Next week, finishing that for the season. And then I watched Survivor. Last night was really, really good. Or this week was really good on Survivor, by the way. That Emily, she went from my, like, least favorite person of the show to, like, my favorite person on the show. I don't think she'll win, but I think she's playing a very smart game. I really, really like her. And then I watched Amazing Race. And I was kind of sad at who got kicked. I like all of the top 5 teams right now. So they got down to the final 4. And one of the teams got kicked off. Which made me sad because I really, really liked the team that got kicked off. But I like all the teams in the top 5 right now. There's not like... I don't think there's really like anybody that I don't like. The ones I like the most are Rob and Corey. The dad and son. I really like them. And who else do I really like? Rob and Corey. The 2 brothers are okay. But they're not my favorite. And Ashley and her dad. Who's the other group? Well, I can't think because they're like one of my favorites. Ashley and her dad I like, but they're not my favorite. Rob and Corey are my hands down favorite right now. Oh, it's the 2 friends that were in the military together. I like them, but they're okay. But Ashley and Todd, for some reason they reminded me a lot of Alex and I. I really like them. But Rob and Corey is probably who I want to win. I think Greg and John, the 2 brothers, will probably win. Rob and Corey did not play that Express Pass well, I'll just say that. So yeah, so that's who... I would love for Rob and Corey to win, but I don't think that they will. So That episode was good last night too, because you didn't know till the very end. I mean, it was like down to the very, very end, like who was going to come in last and all that kind of stuff. So watch that, and then I started watching. Well, I watched like 5 minutes of that. I say in my vlog that I'm going to watch this, and then people comment and they say, "Are you going to watch?" I'm like, "Are you going to watch my vlog?" Because I mentioned it in my vlog. That's my snarky comment for this vlog, okay? Is when you guys ask me things that I mention in the vlog that you're commenting on. Just stay tuned and watch the vlog, okay? And then comment. But anyway, the show is the one that because I just read this yesterday in my vlog, and then somebody commented, and they're like, "Are you going to watch the show?" And I literally talked about how Caroline and I were talking about it. Love Has Won, The Cult of Mother God. So here's what the show looks like. And it's on HBO Max. I'm like halfway through. I think it's so interesting that it's like it's called Max now, but then it says like here it's like HBO original series. It's like, okay. By the way, this does not. Is this the Amy Carlson girl? That doesn't really look like her. I'm like halfway through the first episode. I almost kind of feel like I need to go back and start watching it again. She like married this older guy, and his name is, I don't know. It's so weird. Those religious cult shows are so weird to me. Like, they interview her mom, and her mom's like, Amy, because Mother God is Amy Carlson, and she's like, Amy was, and to me, Amy was never Mother God. She was my daughter. And so then they interview her sister. The whole show is very interesting, but very bizarre. You can kind of see how it starts, because it's her and this guy that are married, and they introduce themselves as Mother and Father God. Then over time, she starts saying she's Mother Earth, Mother God. And then I think she starts getting like a lot of power and attention from it. And so what you're really talking about is Mother Ego, is what you're really talking about. It's like it's all feeding her ego and things like that. So, I mean, I'm only halfway through the first episode. It's when like all these people like leave Colorado because they found her dead, mummified body in the first 2 minutes of the show. They show it, which is so gross I couldn't even eat. So they all like head out to Vermont because they don't want to get arrested to go to jail. But they stand so firmly in their, convictions that they don't want to go to jail over their convictions. Mother God wouldn't want that. And they're trying to keep all of Mother God's secrets and stuff like that. And then they show this thing. This is where I was like, okay, I gotta go to bed. I'm tired. This one chick is showing this thing about, it's like this collage of all these pictures, and she's like, these are people that are like, I'm sure they probably get more into this, but she was like, this is where I just was like, okay, I'm too tired, it is too late, and I cannot keep up with this. All of these people that are on Mother God's, like, she brought them here to do work or something, and it's like Robin Williams is at the center of all of this stuff. Most of them are dead. Like, Elvis was her son, they said. The only person that's not dead that's on this, like, it's like this little collage thing. All these pictures is Donald Trump was part of that. It's basically all these powerful people. And it's like Elvis, Marilyn Monroe. They're talking about the similarities between this woman and Marilyn Monroe. And Robin Williams is like, it's so obvious this woman just like, it's people that she liked. It's bizarre. The whole thing was bizarre. So anyway, but I'm going to finish watching that tonight. Tonight is the first episode. I thought it was Life After Lockup, but when I look it up, it doesn't show up as Life After Lockup. It shows up as Love After Lockup. So I don't know if it's like the second part of Love After Lockup with new couples. I'm really kind of clueless over it. But that comes out tonight. So I've got Welcome to Plathville still to watch. Oh, Amazing Race. I finished that. Okay. See, I got my like notes where I have to like, you can't see, but anyway. Life After Lockup. I've got to watch. Welcome to Plathville, Life After Lockup. Alex and I watched The Kardashians and House of Villains, so those don't count for my current list. I have 90 Day Fiancé comes out on Sunday, and then RuPaul's Drag Race Canada. So I've got 3 shows that I have to watch to catch up on. Well, Life After Lockup, or Love After Lockup isn't even out yet. It comes out tonight. So I've got 2 shows I got to catch up on, then 1,000 Pound Sisters and that, what was that show called that I was talking about? The Amy Carlson show. Love Has Won, The Cult of Mother God. I'm going to watch that. To be honest with you, I was kind of like on my phone while I was watching it, so I kind of feel like I missed some of it, so I feel like I need to go back and... Remember I said I was going to keep my phone inside? Well, it was so cold out here a couple nights that I had to keep my phone inside because it kept on shutting itself off because it was so cold. That's how cold it is when I was sitting out here with my heated vest on, right? Probably why I'm so tired and feel like I'm getting sick. I love sitting outside. I just feel like I'm part of the world that way, but anyway... I want to be where the people aren't, sitting on my front porch. But as they pass by in the street, on those things, what are they called? Oh yes, feet. Okay, I gotta get off here now. Because this is getting corny. So I got some shows to watch tonight. I got some leftover pasta to eat. I got some snacks. I'm kind of like really hungry for like, I was like looking at them dips and I was like, okay, I gotta finish those dips. But a sandwich kind of sounds really good, but like I don't know where I want to get a sandwich from, like not Subway, that doesn't sound good. I don't know where I want a sandwich from, so I'm gonna look up sandwiches and see what pulls up. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna get off here now. I hope that you guys are having a this was kind of like a fun vlog to do a little bit longer. Did you guys enjoy this longer vlog? I mean, it wasn't the longest vlog I've ever done, but it was half of that I was like, well, not maybe even half that. It was close to half that. Anyway, let me know if you enjoyed it in the comment section below. I feel so much better than when I first started this vlog, so thank you guys just for being there for me so that I have someone to film for, and that you guys watched it. It really means a lot to me, and I hope that you guys are having a fantastic and fabulous Friday, and a fantastic beginning to your weekend. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these three very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want, or your week, or your weekend if you need to. If you got your weekend started off on a bad note, start it over. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much it means to you. Like I always say, you might be putting a smile on their face, you might be changing their day for the better, you might be making them feel happier, and you might be making them feel not so all alone. And also be kinder to one another, love one another a little bit more, and most importantly, be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more, because it all starts with you. And if you're kinder to others and you love others, if you're kinder to yourself and you love yourself more, then you will be kinder to others and you will love others more as well. And I love you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Happy December 1st.